Today I figured I would dive into an existing project I have in Live and show you how you can use automation to create a bit of movement in a track. Let's dive in here. Okay, so what exactly is automation? Automation is basically just taking some sort of parameter and telling your DAW to vary the setting on it over time. So for instance, I have this bass here, which I think comes in a bit too abruptly, so I like to fade it in. That is one purpose, one reason to use automation. There are basically three ways of adding automation in Live. I'm gonna take you through all of them. I use all of them in different scenarios. But for something like this, where I want to have a bit of control over it, I would probably just draw it in. That's the first way of doing it. So this track, I'm gonna put on my headphones here. This track sounds like this. And there is the bass line. So what I would do if I want to slowly fade this in is automating the volume. And when I do this, I don't use the mixer control over here because I find that's a bit impractical if I want to mix this tune later. If there's a lot of automation on the main volume control, that's going to make that a lot harder. So what I like to do is do what I've done on this track, add a utility device. You can find that one in your audio effects and down here. So if you simply click on the gain knob here, you can see that this red line moves up and down. If you double click it, it goes back to the default setting, which is that the device doesn't do anything. So what you do if you want to draw in some automation is simply click on this red line. It says over here now that this red line shows the gain control on the utility device, which is the one down here. We know we're controlling the right parameter. Just make another point over here and drag the line down. I mean, you can obviously make more points on this line and drag those to the positions you like, if you don't like them just going straight from one point to the other. But you can also just drag this line, and if you hold down the Option key and drag on it, you can basically change the shape of the line. So that's what I like to do it here. I like it to be quiet in the beginning, but I like it to come in a bit quicker than just being completely linear, basically. So now this sounds like this. Now it fades in. All right. That is the first method of doing it, simply just drawing it in. The second one I'm going to show you today is by just recording and using the mouse. Say I have this clap up here, which sounds like this. It's been faded in as well. It's basically just a clap loop, which sounds just like this in the context. And as you can see over here, it says -26. It says -26 over here. That is how much of this track is being sent to my return tracks. And my return tracks doesn't show now. And since this is, I had a shortcut for that back with Live 11. I'm sure there is one for Live 12 as well, but I haven't really figured that one out yet. But you can show it by going up on the view menu and going down to and checking these return tracks. There it is. Okay, where was I? Yeah, I was up here talking about how much of the clap track which is being sent to the first return track. And the first return track has a reverb on it. Valhalla Vintage Verb. If I just make sure now that none of these tracks are record enabled, that is this button over here, we're gonna make sure that none of those are red. And if you then just put the marker over here and hit record, I can simply just drag up and down on this control and have the automation being recorded. I'm actually gonna move a bit further on because I want this automation to be changed near where the clap track stops. That's the second method. I mean, both of these methods work pretty well. I mean, that's how I work if I'm working simply on my laptop and I only want to change one parameter at a time, like the case was with these two examples. If you want to have access to controlling multiple parameters at once, I mean, you obviously can't use a mouse because that will only let you control one thing at a time, and you have to do multiple takes. It's doable. I do that when I'm just working on my laptop if I'm not in my studio. But say you want to change, you can take this bass line as an example again. I'm gonna use a controller now. That's the spoiler. I mean, it's the third method is using some sort of controller and map that controller to various controls and just basically do the same thing. Hit record and adjust those parameters while the track is playing back. This bass line, which we listened to earlier, comes from a UHE Reaper 1 synthesizer, and as you can see, it has a lot of controls. For this, I would like to change the cutoff, possibly the resonance, and possibly also the envelope amount. So the way to do that is going down to the device on this in this area down here and hit. I mean, first of all, just right click on where it says Reaper 1 and choose group. That will put this track in a group. And I mean, by itself that doesn't sound too helpful, but the good thing about grouping something is that you will get these macro controls, which you can map stuff to. And if you click this button with a sort of looks like a circle, you will get this view, and you have, as you can see, you have 6 macros here now. You can get up to, sorry, you have 8 macros here now, and you can get up to 16, I think, by clicking the plus button here. But I don't need more than these 6 now. If you want to map something to this, you can simply hit this little arrow icon over here and press configure. When I move any of these controls now, for instance the cutoff knob, you'll see that it pops up down here. And I can do the same thing with the other 2 controls I want to be able to automate, the resonance and the envelope amount. I'm possibly even gonna take the amp envelope release because that's can be useful to automate as well. Okay, when I'm done doing that, I'm just gonna hit configure here again, and I'm gonna map these to these macros. And the way to do that is just right clicking on cutoff, map it to macro 1, right click on resonance, map to macro 2, right click on envelope amount, choose macro 3, and do the same for release down here. Now I have these controls mapped to this instrument rack, and I have this controller set up in a way that it just controls any device that is highlighted down here. You can see that by that little hand icon. That was a bit troublesome to set up on this particular thing, but if you have something like an Ableton push or something, that is basically how it works in the default states. But yeah, I managed to set this thing up in the same way. That took a bit of manual labor, but it now works the same way that something like an Ableton push or any other, or at least a lot of these devices work by default. So if you have this hand icon here, you can now see that if I twist this knob, I can change this parameter. I'm just going to play this back and see what makes sense, and I'm just going to do what I did. I can close up this view here now and just put the playhead back to the started bassline and just hit record. And if it doesn't work, I can simply undo what I did and do another take. So let's see how this works. Same thing now. Just make sure that none of these record enabled buttons are red. You can see that by just scrolling up and down. Okay, I'm gonna hit record and see where this takes us. And it fades in. As you can see down here now, this gain knob is gradually moving up because we made some automation for that one earlier. That is probably a bit more extreme than I would do it if I was gonna actually automate this, but I mean, for demonstration purposes, you get the point. I mean, as you can see here now, the instrument rack and the utility now has some sort of automation in it, and if I choose the instrument rack on the top pull down menu here, you can see that both the cutoff now has a bit of automation recorded in, the resonance has a bit of automation, same for the envelope amount, and also the amp release. So, I mean, using a controller obviously makes it a lot easier if you want to record multiple parameters at once. Alright, yeah, those are basically the 3 ways to record automation. Might be more as well, but I think these are the most practical ways to do it, either by just drawing it in or recording with your mouse, or obviously the easiest way is just to use a controller and do it. And then the good thing is you can, even if you record something, and you can always edit it later. I mean, I could hear that this cutoff thing I did here in the middle is a bit extreme, but you can do the same thing with recorded automation that you can if you had drawn it in from the beginning. I mean, I can just mark this, and I can, first of all, I can right click it and choose simplify envelope. That will take away a few of the points, but basically more or less keep the same shape. If I think this is a bit extreme, I can just, Jesus, that was hard. If I think this is a bit extreme, I can just mark the points I want to affect and just drag them down. The whole shape will move when I do it. If I want to just move this one up, I can just, yeah, drag that one. So yeah, even if you have recorded in, you can obviously alter it later by drawing it in, or doing another take if you find that more practical. So yeah, what would I generally use this for? I mean, I showed you probably what I use it the most for. I typically use it for automating volume and panning, like I have done here with this utility device. I use it to automate various synth parameters. I mean, cutoff and resonance and envelope amount is probably the stuff I automate the most often, because it changes up the sound a bit and makes it a bit more interesting. Same goes for the amp envelope and the filter envelope as well. That will also do changes to the sound. And obviously I did this a bit extreme now to make sure you could actually hear what I was doing. Often just subtle changes over time will keep the listener a bit more interested than if you just simply play back the same thing over and over. I also showed you how I sent this clap to a reverb. You can also send it to other return tracks as well, send it to a delay, have the reverb or the delay effect be a bit more, basically have the reverb or delay effect be a bit more extreme in various different parts of the track. What I use it for besides that? I mean, I don't think I actually have an arpeggiator in here, but you can also automate various parameters in there. Change up the arpeggiate the tempo. You can even automate the master tempo of this song if you want it to go slower or faster at various points. I don't often use that myself, but it's but I mean, it is possible. So yeah, I hope that was helpful. Remember, there's no right or wrong here. You can just experiment and see what sounds good to your ears, and don't be a perfectionist about it. Just get it done and leave it alone for a while and come back to it and listen to it in a future session, and you can decide then if you want to keep it or not, or you want to do something completely different. So yeah, that's what I wanted to show you today. So I'll see you in the next video again. Bye.